Welcome to BARI Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip. Hey, Shan.
Hey Lee, what's up?
I jumped in before you ended it this time.
I could see you looking at me and like kind of like an excited like person waiting to go on a train on like a ride or something. Like, I'm gonna go first. Firstly, start this episode by thanking our Patreons, our Opti and Premium Patreons, Alicia, Barb, Laura, and Lou. Also, we would like to like kind of put special things across to our Patreons first, and they kind of like special like little discounts and different things. We did say in past episode that we wanted to reach out to these guys, which do the bariatric cookbooks.
Your complete guide to nutrition for weight loss surgery.
And we were successful. They've come on board, so they're going to be giving us some discount codes for our Patreons and different things like that. And I'm excited. Like, the more I've been reading this book, I'm like, yes, this is sick. Like, even this quote here says, bariatric surgery is like a cherry on top of the cake or the tip of a pyramid. It is underpinned by the lifestyle foundations, which are prerequisite to long-term success. Like, it's more than just a recipe book. And I won't go too far into it, but I'm excited because this is like kind of my new chapter, is trying to understand that kind of realm, because it's something I've never put emphasis on. And it's like, I understand now how important it is to being successful at bariatric surgery.
The whole reason why, if anyone was following along with our stories on our Instagram, Shannon and I having cook-offs, we'd really like to potentially...
Yeah, I'm not keen on that. But no. Yeah.
Well, look, they won't be cook-offs. It'll be kind of like, nailed it.
It's like a leader teaches a preschooler how to cook.
No, but I'm excited. Like, I've seen a few of their recipe books before, and I like a few of their recipes. So
I literally hit them up and I was like, can we do like a little, like the easiest recipes in the world, like 3 ingredients or less for bariatric patients, like highly nutritious.
3 ingredients or less.
Literally 1 ingredient or less.
You're like Cruskets, tuna, avocado.
You're like, done. Nailed it. I can make the book for you. All right, guys. But yeah, the other thing, the factor I heard today that was really interesting, because I went for a run with the podcast, as I do, and I love listening to bariatric ones. And there was one today that says you're less likely to be successful after bariatric surgery if you have depression.
Wow.
I know. I thought it was really interesting.
Is that because you're less likely to succeed in life if you have some depression?
Well, I think it's just a case of you just don't. It's like, because I think a huge pillar to success is kind of establishing like the importance to yourself, and I guess that would be really hard with especially clinical depression.
Yeah.
Like mine was depression based on environment and food. But people with clinical depression, it would make it a little bit tougher. And I guess that's
a lot of the whole process is believing that you can make a change, and then making those changes, but then always evolving. And if you're depressed and you don't think that you're able to
or worth the change,
then it would make it really hard.
It would be, yeah. So I thought it was a really interesting one today, because you know how I love the one about, the biggest cause of death is suicide, and the regain rates and stuff like that. I'm a big statistical person, and hearing that today, I was like, well, that's really interesting, because it makes my brain kind of go like, what are the elements that make that person less likely to succeed than someone who's not depressed? Because I would love to see statistically how many people get off antidepressants and stuff after bariatric surgery too, like losing the weight, how much emphasis like their weight played a part
actually, I've never seen any stats around that. I have seen stats on people coming off like blood pressure medication, like not needing their sleep apnea anymore, and those sorts of things. But I've never seen, stats on people who are no longer clinically depressed. So that would be really interesting.
It would be. I'd love all that kind of stuff. And like even listening to this podcast today, it talked a lot about like, it's almost like there's a lot we know, and the surgeons can only do so much, but there's a lot more we need to know. And I think over time, I'm assuming statistics and the stuff like that will evolve, and then they'll be utilized as tools for surgeons and psychologists and dietitians to kind of better establish a foundation for bariatric patients going forward. But it made me think when I was running, and I was kind of going, you know what? Like, we don't really understand a lot, because even like a lot of the dietitians and psychologists are coming from a background of study, not so much experience, and there's not really the study material put in place yet for them to fully understand how complex the bariatric mind can be.
There are a lot more people though coming through the works now that have had bariatric surgery, and they are, the nurses, they are the dietitians, they are the psychologists, which I think is a massive thing. Like, the more we can get people who have actually lived and breathed the experience, the better it's going to be for those coming through behind, like after us.
As long as they're like, because that's the thing, like there's a textbook and then there's 99.6 thousand other ways it's done. Because that's my biggest thing with like, I sit back now.
Did you just make up a percentage?
I think it was probably a pretty accurate representation of, but like even today when I was like thinking about it, I was like, I sit back now and almost like people watch the bariatric community and we're so vastly different. And it's like, there's so many different, I guess, ways that people are going about certain things. Some good, some bad, some right, some wrong. Like, I don't know, but I sit back and I watch it and I kind of just go, oh, like you can kind of see the characteristics of that person prior to surgery. And it's like a dulled down version of what they would have once been. And, you know, it's just kind of watching it and kind of.
So what we learned from this conversation is Shan's a creep and he just sits there lurking.
I'm the kind of person that sits at a club and watches people. Like, no wonder I never picked up because I sit there and go like, oh, I wonder if that person's their brother or their dad.
Oh my God. Well, today's guest is somebody that we can talk about the stats of because she has come off her blood pressure medication since having surgery. She is 8 months post bypass surgery. She had her heaviest recorded weight of 165 kilos, has managed to drop over 75 kilos. She's come off her blood pressure medications and she's turned her life around. She describes herself as determined, generous, and a bit of a risk taker. Please welcome our guest tonight, Gillian, also known as Jill Facey. With all the E's on the end of it on Instagram.
That's me.
That sounds exactly like it would be pronounced.
Yeah. Well, there's three E's on the end of it, so I had to say it that way.
There is 3. Yeah.
So we'll kick off with our icebreaker question, which has kind of not gone great over the past few weeks. And it's become one of these questions we're actually kind of telling people about before we actually start the episode now, just giving it away because we don't like to make people awkward. And it's been doing it. So the question today coming from our Patreons is, if you could take 3 things to a desert island, not desert island, what would they be?
I would take a Kindle because I have to have a book or something. I would definitely have water, not from a bariatric point of view, but just water in general.
Just a life point of view, yeah.
Kind of important,
yeah, just lifeblood, you know. And sunscreen, SPF, 100% every day without fail.
That shows a very responsible person. Like, here I am over here being like, I would take a kite and
What would you? I'd take running shoes, duct tape, because if you've ever watched Mythbusters, they can like
what are
make
you doing on that
everything
island?
out of duct tape,
and zip ties.
No, so I'd take my running shoes because you've got to keep fit.
Yeah.
I'd take duct tape because I can make a boat to sail out of there with duct tape. It's fine. And I'd probably take, I don't know what my third thing would be. Probably something superficial.
Maybe
like,
food or water.
Yeah, no. Well,
that's not a bad idea.
I'd probably take like a knife so that I could like sharpen things to make spears and.
Do you think you're MacGyver or something?
Yeah, I am.
You're like, I can make a ham out of duct tape. Okay, cool. Well, that's a great kickoff question.
We don't even need to ask Shan because his would be like, I will take my runners and my dogs.
I would take a Woolworths. I would take a water plant, and I would take
a sewage plant,
a Netflix
account,
Netflix factory or something. I don't. But so obviously let's get stuck into. I don't know. A leader and our icebreaker questions. We'll leave it with that. Firstly,
make people smile.
Yeah, sure. Smile, cringe. Same team. Firstly, which bypass surgery did you have, and why did you pick that particular surgery procedure?
I had a Roux-en-Y, and I didn't pick it. My surgeon picked it. So because I am a older patient, he suggested rather than a sleeve that I have a bypass because of my long-term success. So I took his lead totally on that.
Yeah.
Have you had kids?
Yes.
And are you planning on having future kids? Future kids.
That's a really great question. My daughter is an IVF baby, so if we have to go down that track again, I have been cleared that we do have one more frozen embryo, and if I do go down that track again, yes. And my surgeon assured me that having a bypass wouldn't have any effect on a pregnancy. So
sorry if that was a personal question that you didn't want to touch on.
No, it's fine. No, it's cool.
What, do you want to ask her if she has any pets next or something? Oh my God.
The reason why I asked,
I have 2 dogs.
Yeah, and I'm the sicko that pries into people's lives.
And you didn't want to take them to the island with you? Gosh. But she didn't even say her kids, so.
No, she's like looking at it as like, it's like Bali, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm just going for a week or 2.
The only reason why I asked that question is because when I went in for surgery, the first question that my surgeon asked me was, are you planning on having kids in the future? Because I was 29 when I had surgery, 28 or 29 when I had surgery. And my surgeon, for whatever reason, won't do a bypass on somebody who is hoping to have kids in the future. And I think it has something to do with the malabsorption and that side of things. But like that was the only reason why I asked, because it's just interesting to see if surgeons have got the same like sort of screening questions. But like it hasn't stopped people having children after having bypass, but it's just one of the questions that he just kind of goes, I'm interested to, know.
And you only got one kid? Is that what you
said? One biological, yes.
One
biological. I have other bonus children, but one biological.
And how old is your biological one that you had with IVF?
She is 21 months.
21 months. And you're 8 months out, 7 months
from
surgery.
Yeah, okay. So she was a little over 1 when I had surgery.
Okay, cool. And did you notice, like, obviously that whole process, because IVF can be quite draining on a female body, did that play a part into kind of where you got to and why bariatric surgery became like such an option?
Yeah, I guess it's definitely part of my story. 5 or it'll be 6 years ago now, I actually made an appointment with a surgeon, and at the 11th hour flight freaked out and went, no, I can't do this, I'm going to give it one more shot. And I actually lost 60 kilos through diet and exercise alone to have a baby, because my IVF or my fertility doctor told me that he wouldn't do any fertility treatment on me unless I was a particular BMI, because that's just the way that this process works. So I literally killed myself to get to a certain BMI, and that resulted in huge restrictive behavior, working out 2 times a day, 6 days a week, and I got to my goal, which was great, but then I had to pump my body through full of synthetic hormones in order to go through the process. So while I got to my goal, as soon as I started to pump my body full of those synthetic hormones, the weight just started to creep back on. And so that was definitely a huge part of why I got to where I was, to then make the decision for bariatric surgery.
Yeah.
Well, your poor body, like having to go through like all of that, the hard diet, exercise, working out, trying to get you to that goal weight, and then to then be like, yes, we're here. And then be like, psych, we're going to start pumping you through like with synthetic hormones. Your body would have been like, what is going on?
That would be tough.
It really did.
It'd be tough for anyone, like let alone females, to have so many hormones that come into play in that whole process, and like the process prior to that. Have you always been overweight, like even younger when you were little? Yes. My poor mum, she tried to do everything that she possibly could to give me the best chance from a healthy perspective. We did the liver cleansing diet, which was a challenging diet. And she was fabulous. My mum is tall and trim and genetically that way. I'm definitely my father's side of the family, but she was with me 100%, whatever suggestion she had, whatever doctors said, she was there with me 100%. So yes, there's lots of photos of me as a younger person who was overweight. I was bullied extensively at primary and high school around being overweight. My nickname was the Blue Whale, so that was fun. Yeah. Why the blue whale? Why not just the whale?
I wore a blue one-piece togs to grade 6 camp, and that's what they called me. And some people called me that right through to grade 12. So that was fun.
I'm the same. I wore pink socks to grade 7. I was overweight as well, and I wore pink socks to my grade 7 camp, and I have a birthmark on my knee, and I got shit knee Shannon.
And Pinky Poo.
Oh,
and,
good.
And
yeah,
Pinky Poo.
Sure.
And Pinky Poo. And I was like, it's very clever now that I look back.
When you're writing your name, you get your year 12 and you get to choose your senior jersey, and everyone like chooses like a name. So I just put leader, very original, on the back of mine. Like I was an overweight person who got picked on quite a lot, and there were certain stereotypes out there that people were like, putting me into. So I was like, I'm not going to give him anything. I'm just going to put leader on the back of my jersey. But there was one guy in our grade who he just put wide load on the back of his jersey because he was like, if I name myself this, it takes away the sting if anyone else says it to me.
I was legit going to put the same thing on my grade 12 thing. Literally wide load, because I was that person. I got bullied so bad that I literally tried to project and be like almost the Eminem thing. Like if I say it all about myself, no one else can.
The same as like Fat Amy out of Pitch Perfect. Yeah. Like, if I call myself Fat Amy, no one else can say it and take it away. Like it's crazy. So this being like bullied your whole like early childhood and life, do you think that's played a part on who you are as an adult now, or have you sort of like moved on from that?
Absolutely. I think probably 10, 15 years ago, I overcompensated as well. So from like late teens through to say mid 30s, honestly, I overcompensated. I became super boisterous, super confident, over the top, because if I was making a big song and dance of myself, then no one could have anything to say. Well, that's what I thought. No one could have anything to say about the way that I looked. Or I also sing. I sang opera and classical and musicals and all sorts of things. And so if I made that the focus, then you couldn't say anything about my weight.
Yeah. Yeah. It
was so I thought anyway.
So you thought, no. It is one of those things, and it's like, this is again one of those situations where I say the bariatric community, we have so much, we're very different, but we have very similarities. Like even when you're talking about this kind of stuff, I'm like, I did a conference up at Noosa and did like a bit of a talk, and I talked about how I understand now when, you look at me, you see a male, but really I see someone who's very insecure based on like a lot of experiences in my past, because, the bullying and different things like that. I've finally started sitting back and going, the reason I didn't like myself is because of the experiences I've had in my life that have made me a certain person, where I'm not like, like I've always kind of tippy-toed around discovering me and more discovering what others wanted
you to be.
Because of these experiences. And like you talking about that, I'm like, oh man, it resonates with me, because I've started trying to unlock certain things that like have made me feel a certain way for a very long time. And I now find myself trying to like sometimes turn that tap off, because I'm like, man, it's a lot to unload.
No more.
No more. I give up.
So leading into surgery, obviously you had blood pressure issues. Was that the only comorbidity that you, or like, what do you call it? Like a...
comorbidity.
Comorbidity.
Yeah,
good word.
okay, yeah.
I think that's the technical term.
That's the technical word, but I was trying to
the technical term.
I was trying to think of...
I was like, things don't work right.
Did you have any other comorbidity?
Yeah.
It was technically the only one. When I was pregnant, I did have gestational diabetes, but that could have been totally irrelevant, because that's actually got nothing to do with weight. When I was pregnant, they monitored me so incredibly close throughout the whole pregnancy, because I was a geriatric mother. Love that term. It's lovely.
Don't worry, I'm going to be a geriatric mother too.
Geriatric mums, we rock. And I was overweight. And I was terrified the whole pregnancy. That is another podcast altogether, I'm sure, but I was terrified the whole pregnancy, because I just thought that these things that they were telling me were going to come true. So, and it was all based on my weight and everything. So
yeah, wow.
It's one thing we always hear as an overweight person, hey, like the minute you walk into a medical scene, everything is because you're overweight. Like they don't really think of anything else. It's just kind of like, oh, we've got it. Well, you're geriatric because you're over the age of like 32 or something like that when you're pregnant. Like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then also throwing in that you're overweight as well. They just kind of like take all the precautions, which as a mother-to-be with your first child wouldn't have been a very pleasant experience either. Like they're like, try and be as calm and as like, you know, relax into pregnancy. But when every time you go for a checkup and the doctors are like, you know, monitoring you and being so like overcautious, it doesn't make for an easy pregnancy.
And it's also one of those things, like the more I talk to surgeons and the more I talk to like psychologists and different dietitians who have never been overweight, the more I understand, like the more I see they don't understand. Like, and it's so, and I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person that goes, they just don't get it. But like, I talk to a lot of them and it's always like, they understand from a textbook point of view. But like the things we were talking about with the traumas and the bullying and all those things and how they play a part. And that's not in a textbook.
No.
Like that, none of that is in a textbook. And it's sometimes hard to kind of say to them, hey, like this is how it actually is. And they're like, no. But page 46 of this textbook says that's just classic trauma reflection. It's like, and it's so hard because it's some things you just can't have in a textbook. And I like literally had that thought the other week when I was listening to a few psychologists and stuff talk. So yeah, really interesting.
And everybody's trauma is different.
Yeah.
Everybody's presentation of trauma is different. Everybody sees, some people don't even see it as trauma. Like, I would never have used that language around what happened to me until the last maybe 5 years because I didn't have that language. We didn't talk that way. So I would never have a conversation with my mum and say, oh, my childhood traumas, because I would never want her to think that that was reflective on her being my mum. So it's so situational when it comes to trauma and the things that have happened to you, whether you call it baggage or trauma or whatever you call it. So how can they do that?
It's very true. It's very true because sometimes I guess maybe projecting it in a certain way makes you feel better about that experience and makes you feel better about your earlier life to kind of, you know, not be depressed.
But then it also reflects on us, like most of us are quite empathetic people. So it's kind
of
even
like when you just said then you didn't say it because you wanted to protect your mum's feelings. Like I totally get that.
100%.
Like I've said a few things to my mum lately about things that happened earlier in my life. She goes, oh my God, I'm the worst mother. I'm like, no, this isn't about you. Like you're an amazing mother. There's just certain things you did as a mother that I took certain things away from. It's not nothing to do with you. You're an amazing mother. And it's so funny because you doing that, I was like, that's literally
100%.
exactly the
Yeah,
same.
exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So leading into surgery, and at what point did they tell you that you were going to stop your blood pressure medication? Was it kind of like day of surgery, we're going to stop your blood pressure medications and you never go on them again? Or was it trial and error?
No, absolutely not. I've only just come off my blood pressure medication in January.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, so I kept taking them because I actually was working with my GP rather than my surgeon in regards to my blood pressure medication. And she was not keen for me to come off cold turkey. So it was only when I went back to see her at my 6 months bloods and said, I'm feeling lightheaded and I've been doing some blood pressure checks at home and I think it's possibly a bit low. So then we went cold turkey. So it definitely wasn't pre or even immediately post.
Yeah, wow. So you had your surgery in November. No.
In
November?
August.
September, October.
Yeah.
Wow, I was way off. Because I was thinking like, wow, you had yours just before Christmas. Yeah, forget that. Total sidetrack. But you do talk a lot about wanting to change your relationship with food. Is that something you've struggled with in the past? Is that something you've kind of started wrapping your head around? Like, what do you mean by that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my relationship with food was a tumultuous relationship. It was love-hate, absolutely. I love food, and lots of bariatric patients that I've talked to, we all love food, and there's actually nothing wrong with that. I just needed to love food in a new way. I see it now as I have a small amount of real estate, and what's going into that real estate is going to be good. It's going to be nutritious. It's going to be delicious. And I am no longer going to restrict in such a psycho way that I was in order to lose weight the last time, like cutting out whole food groups, because that's stupid. I know it worked, don't get me wrong. But now on the other side, to cut out a whole food group to actually lose weight doesn't sit in my brain anymore. And so I've sort of repairing my relationship with food has really been around how can I eat intuitively? How can I eat what my body wants and needs rather than what my brain wants and needs? So where it's a journey. I hate that word. Why did I use it?
Everyone does. I love that word. I think it sums it up perfectly.
It's definitely not perfect, but that's where I'm going at the moment, is trying to eat intuitively and working out what that means for me.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, again, another thought I have when I run. I love running because it makes me think. But I had a thought today because I'm a big believer in the 1%, changing the 1%, whether you want to like get to being a marathon runner, it's all about that 1% each day, blah, blah. And I thought about it from a food perspective because I'm not a big foodie. Like I'm kind of a person who, if you gave me a tablet that gave me all the nutrition I needed, I would take that tablet because I've realized I like volume was always my thing rather than flavors. And it was always like trying to chase a feeling rather than like the actual food and the sauce. So for me, I was like, thinking about it today and I'm like, for some people changing the 1% of like a bad habit with like, say, chocolate is still having it every day. But for me, it's not. No. Yeah, because I literally hardly ever had chocolate. So for me, changing 1% of chocolate is just not having it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it from that, again, because I see a lot of people in the bariatric community who are very like leading into Easter, chocolate, and that was all such a big kind of player in the game.
See, for me, changing the 1% leading into Easter was I will buy a 6-pack of hot cross buns, and once that 6-pack is gone, then it's gone, meaning we both had like 3 each leading into Easter, and then I bought us each, the Easter bunny, I bought us each a chocolate egg each because, it's Easter, and the old me used to buy all of the eggs. I'd eat it as soon as they came into the supermarkets because I love hollow chocolate. So like for me to just go, nope, from Friday, like from the week leading into Easter until Easter Monday, that's your time to sort of just, be a little, because we don't really eat chocolate throughout the year.
I know, but it's like I personally would rather see people be like, let's eat chocolate throughout the year than glorify that one weekend.
And it's funny because I said to you, do you want a chocolate bunny this year? And
I said no, but then you gave it to me and I ate it because it's there. My big thing is if it's there, I'll eat it.
I also knew.
And I'm like, do not give me chocolate.
That was me being selfish because I knew that if I bought myself a bunny, I'd start eating it and you'd be like, can I have some? And I'd be like, no, this is my bunny. So I bought you your own bunny so that you wouldn't eat my bunny. And now my bunny's in the fridge and yours is gone.
How did you handle Easter weekend? How has that whole situation gone for you?
I guess my oldest, or my middle child, my bonus child, she loves chocolate. So I have had Easter eggs in the cupboard for weeks because I bought them weeks ago in the shopping. And I bought my little one chocolates, which she doesn't really eat, but they have been. Chocolate's also not really my thing. But yesterday I got together with my family and we planned what we were going to eat. They are amazingly supportive of me. So they were like, okay, so what can you eat? And we worked out what protein I would eat and how they would eat around that. And we had a beautiful dinner together and there was a million chocolates on the table. And I had one. I had a little bunny and had a lemon sherbet because my dad bought them for me. And so I think this is the first Easter where I haven't eaten all the food and all the chocolate and all of the stuff because, one, I'm in that honeymoon of restriction still, so I can't, which is great. But I also was not denying myself leading up to Easter, thinking, okay, I'm just waiting for Easter and then I can eat chocolate.
Yeah.
So I might have chocolate once or twice a week, but it's now good quality, something that I really like in a portioned amount, rather than I'm just going to eat all of this stuff because it's the time that you're supposed to eat chocolate.
Don't get me wrong, I didn't go overboard. I legit bought a packet of hard solid Cadbury.
I feel like she's defending this. Do you feel like she's defending
I know,
this?
I was just thinking
I know. She's
I'm
like,
totally defending
like,
myself.
Were you even listening what she was saying? Because I feel like you're sitting there being like, oh my God, I look like an idiot. I just ate everything. How can I get myself out of this?
If there was a holiday that was around chips, we'd be having a different discussion.
like cold chips?
Like potato chips?
Like potato chips?
Any hot, cold.
You're like any form of potato that isn't actually potato.
Or corn even. It's not just potato. Corn chips are in there too.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say I love corn, but you said corn chips. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nachos, like that's me, like the savory stuff that gets me more than and cheeses. And
me too.
Cheese. Cheese.
Stop it.
That's why we
you haven't had to deal with
vegan.
you haven't had to deal with dumping or anything as of yet?
Yeah. Oh yes, I have.
Yeah?
I have had a few significant memorable core memory building, I believe, dumping episodes. So they've been shocking. I even only last week, it wasn't dumping, but I had this really great idea that I was going to drink kombucha because it was good for my gut. As a post-bariatrics patient, don't drink kombucha. If you're listening to this and you haven't, please don't try. It is not a fun time. I was so unwell, in so much pain.
Yeah.
Is it high in sugar? Kombucha?
Give me some artificial seaweed. No, it's like artificial. It's
No.
like, isn't it artificial tea or something?
No, it's
it's because it's live. Yeah, it's fermented and it's live bacteria, like it's live. So when you drink it and you have a small tube or a pouch, whichever you've gone, it creates so much gas and you can't move that gas in a way when you have a normal sized stomach now that you have a small area. So it was not a fun
You're
time.
like, and it didn't even taste good. It tastes like ass.
No, it didn't. It tasted amazing. It's pink lemonade flavor, and I used to love it pre-surgery.
Yes,
but
I know exactly which one you're talking about. That is the one.
But it is not an option anymore. It's a hard no.
Yeah. So like habits, like we kind of touched on it a little bit there. Do you kind of like your food relationship? Is it snacking? Were you binge eating? Like what were kind of your habits around how you got to being overweight?
It was definitely binge eating. I was never diagnosed, but I've read enough pre and post surgery now that I know I had binge eating disorder. My first significant relationship, I was with a chef. So I used to go and meet him between his shifts. So he did split shifts, and I would eat dinner with him as part of our relationship, and then I would go home and eat dinner. And it was just, volume was incredible. And then I met my now husband, and then it became comfort eating because we would go out for dinners and we would do, and I traveled and I ate when I traveled, and it just was volume. It was all or nothing, really. And then it would be coupled then with restrictive. So I would go, okay, so on Monday I'm going to start a diet, and then I'm not going to eat this complete food group, and then I would restrict so much that I would then deny myself and then binge. So it was just this full cycle that I was just in continuously for years and years and years and years.
So it was like binging and purging essentially, because
Purging?
yeah, as in
not so much purging, but yes, it was binging and denial and then restriction and then binge, denial, restriction, and it was just
as you were saying that, I was thinking like it's funny with relationships because you said about how you got in the relationship and it became like comfortable because even like I feel like even for skinnier people who have never struggled with their weight, food plays a big part in like things you do. and activities you do. And I was thinking in my head then as you were talking, I'm like, what else is there that you could do apart from like activities that kind of has that same kind of release within a brain? And I'm like, meth? You know, like, I'm like...
Coming from the person who's never tried drugs before in their life.
You want to go have a picnic and have some meth? But yeah,
you'd be skinny, but for a different reason.
Yeah, literally, and have no teeth.
But like, that's the thing. Like, whenever I think of like, oh, you know, how am I going to, you know, you've gone to work, and I want to show you that like I appreciate you and I love you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, well,
get naked. Oh, sorry. Continue. No,
I'm like, so like I know that your mum was a feeder, so I was like, oh well, and I can't go out and buy you like, you know, your favorite ice cream, because if I come home with Maxi Bonds after shopping, you're like, why did you buy them? And I was like, because they were on special and I love you. And you're like, no, not good. And then I'm like, okay, well, I can't cook you food. I'm like, you don't show appreciation when I clean the house. Like, you do, like, you appreciate it, but it's like that's my love language, not yours. So I'm like, how does one show without me like getting naked and
oh, okay, so we're taking that out of the equation.
Trying for
I thought that was like the easy question. That was the easy one. I was like, well, actually, I kind of already given this away, but sure.
But like, food is such a valuable part of a relationship, because like, you know, oh honey, I've cooked you a really nice dinner tonight. Really nice doesn't usually mean like I've cooked you up salmon and asparagus. It's usually like, well, I made you pizza or like lasagna, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, like a partner to a good date is usually food, not like air.
Yeah.
Or alcohol, food or alcohol.
Yeah, like it's usually a company, isn't it? I guess it's maybe like you, like, because that's never going to be able to leave. Because like most even skinny couples that have never struggled with their weight, that's usually they go out for dinner or they go out for movies and they have like things. It's a social
side of things.
I think it's more understanding that is maybe going to come into part of it, but understanding like your options around it, you know, because I know for me it's usually go out and eat lots. And it used to be like eat lots and drink lots. And like that was kind of my emphasis on why I enjoyed it. Maybe, I don't know.
Because I was having this chat with my PT last week when we were training. And I was telling her about how you would decide to take the pill over eating food.
Yeah.
And she was on the same page as me going, I could never, because food is more, like we all say food is fuel. But food is so social, and if you took away food from the social environment, I feel like I would get awkward. Like, oh hey, do you like all of your friends? They go, oh, do you want to go out for dinner tonight? You're like, yep, cool. And then like dinner is the reason why you're going out. Yeah. And I feel like there's quite a few people that would be like, hey, do you just want to come over to my house and not eat, not drink, just like hang,
just do pills,
just like, you know what I mean? They're like, food and alcohol is such a integral part of our social life.
Yeah.
I just feel like if you took that out of the equation, like, oh no, sorry, I took my pill this morning, I don't have any like need to eat or drink again for the rest of the day. Well, I don't know. I just feel it would be weird.
It's a social construct, like an issue.
I love food because of the social reasons behind it.
Yeah, I 100%. And we do not have the answer, guys. I'm so sorry. We're not going to. I feel like we're just laying down on the couch together, being like, so let's go through our own issues. Let's switch the ball up. You know, we talked about bad habits. You know, have you started trying to ingrain some better good habits? You know, what do they look like for you?
Being prepared. That is for me 100% how I make better decisions now. I did this pre-surgery, but I think it's more important now than ever is I know exactly what we're eating for the week. I look in our cupboard, I look in our fridge, this is what we're eating. I discuss it with my husband about these are the meals that we have, not on Monday we're having this and Tuesday we're having that. I'm not that prepared, but being prepared and having the food that I want to eat, that is the right choice for me in terms of my protein goals or whatever in the house, so I don't go looking for something else. That is what in the last 6 months, because the first 2 months is a write-off, so the last 6 months for me, that's how I've been able to be as successful as I feel I have been, is being prepared, number one. I was about to just like cut you off there though, because in your form, and I'm not saying that your answer is right or wrong, but in your form you said, what's your biggest tip for somebody starting out? And you said, don't over prepare. And I think so in those first 2 months, yes. Because you said like your taste buds are changing and you don't know what you're in for and that sort of thing. So like, not saying that
your answer, what you just said was wrong because it's completely.
No.
I love to prepare as well, but I was like, how funny that like your advice is don't prepare, and now you're like, I'm preparing.
Don't over-prepare.
Don't over-prepare. And that's so true. And you've heard me say it a million times on the podcast before that
It's almost like don't overthink.
Well, yeah, 100%. Because I pre-pureed all of my meals prior to me having surgery, and I threw them all out because, as you're saying, you don't know what you feel like. You don't know what you want. But then once you've sort of like leaned into surgery and you've understood where you're at and what you need, then is the time to prepare.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. Like those first couple of months, I didn't even know what was going on in my brain, let alone my gut. So I didn't know what I wanted. I was still preparing food for a family as well as trying to eat what was right for me in those first couple of months. And my husband was he is the consummate skinny man who doesn't need to watch what he eats. He has an incredibly physical job and he burns 6 times the calories that he could ever put into his body during the day. So he can eat whatever he likes whenever he likes, and he genetically as well is not affected by weight. And so I needed to not prepare for him because he's a capable adult and he can make his own dinner, but we needed to eat as a family because that's important to us. But at the same time, in those first couple of months, like I could have not eaten at all, honestly, because taking that ghrelin, I can never ghrelin. It's the combination of the two. Taking the ghrelin out was such a mind game because you weren't hungry. You knew you had to eat, but you were like, I don't actually want to eat. And then it's like, am I looking for a texture? Am I looking for a crunch? What do I want? So those first couple of months of trying to work out what your body wants, what your body can handle as well, because there was lots of foods that I thought I was going to be eating that my body was like, nope, not today.
Nope.
Prepping now is really important, but back then in my form, yes, not preparing too much because you don't know what your body's going to react like.
Yeah.
And you just got to listen to what your body wants at that in that stage. You need to listen to what your body wants and what it needs, and it's all trial and error in the early stages.
Going through the motions. I think you know the ghrelin side of things and not being hungry. I think that's an important part. Is you being like, oh, I still am making that effort to eat because I know personally I was like, well, I'm not hungry. I'm just not going to eat because in the past, if I ate every time I wasn't hungry, I would be morbidly obese. Insert me, 4 years ago.
Yes, me too.
So I think, you kind of emphasizing on, hey, I'm going to put that emphasis into understanding the crunch and what textures and like certain desires you had without that hunger shows mental growth and like, not just relying purely on that portion of time and that restriction because I think that's what the first year is 90% about is the things you learn and the things you put in place more than the scales moving, as much as that's huge to like your forward momentum. I think having that freedom from food and using it wisely is kind of learning because
freedom is such a key word. Like honestly, freedom from food is like music to my ears now, that I don't feel like I am shackled to this food and that I need it all the time. I love to eat and I will always love to eat, but now I know what I have. Well, I'm learning what I want and intuitively eating. And I know if you told me that I was going to be intuitively eating this year at this time last year, I would have said you woo weirdo. But it is true. Like I am intuitively eating in terms of because with a bypass, I guess, is different to sleep as well. Like your signals of being full is not that pain, not pain, but that physical full feeling. It's much more subtle. So I've had to learn that, and I've had to learn, okay, well, it's going to take 20 minutes for my brain to catch up with my stomach, or vice versa, whichever way it is. So eating slowly, and I'm still learning that. Honestly, I ate a hot cross bun way too quick today, and I was in
I
world
get
of pain.
hiccups every second meal because
I still do it.
Yeah.
like we're 4 years out,
So-
and it's still.
Yeah, so intuitively eating is something that I'm still learning and trying to work out what that actually means on a day-to-day basis, because it's not the same every day.
Well, once you've figured it out, can you let us know?
Yeah, that's
Because
issue.
4 years down the track,
I
we're still trying to
think
figure it out. Yeah.
I'll be on a journey for a long time, so we'll do it together.
We'll do it together.
That's
Yeah.
it. We're like 90 years old sitting on the veranda, be like, oh my God, it just kicked in.
It just kicked in.
I know what it is.
Have you implemented any sort of exercise regime into your day-to-day life? Like,
Absolutely. I just started walking. That was where I started. I just walked, and that was a huge component. Again, the last time I lost weight, because that wasn't just not successful. It was successful for a reason. It was just really restrictive, and I was killing myself. So the walking for me is fabulous. Stick my headphones in and listen to a podcast and walk, and just keep walking. I'm not quite a runner. I would love to be a runner, but my body it's not there yet. So I just walk, and but I have now started to go to the gym. I love a class. I'm not good unless I'm being told what to do. So tell me what to do, whether it's a body attack or a Zumba or whatever. Tell me what to do and I'll do it, and I will give you 100% of my attention and my effort. So, but if you leave me flailing around a gym, I'm not good to anybody. So I love to exercise. I always loved to exercise. I just didn't know that I did, because I felt incapable of doing it, because I was carrying so much more body weight. It was so much more of an effort. And I caught myself the other day in this ridiculous body pump class, and I was smiling, and I was like, what is wrong with you, weirdo? But then I realized that this is what I always wanted to be able to do. I wanted to be able to go to the gym for that 45 minutes, give my 100% effort and actually enjoy it, or go for the walk and feel capable. And that's what I didn't feel before. And that was the thing that was missing. And that's what surgery has allowed me to be able to do, is take up less space in the world, weight-wise, and be able to use the space that I have in a much better way and do things that I enjoy.
I love that you use feeling more capable, because like I was just thinking about that when you said, you know, you were lifting your weights and you had this big smile on your face. When I was competing in the CrossFit Open, like no way was I ever going to be anywhere near the top of the leaderboard. Like I was right at the very bottom. I've only been doing it for 6 months or something like that. But at the end of the third workout, I actually dropped to the bar and cried. And that was really weird for me, because it was kind of like I said to Shan and everybody in the room leading into that workout, I know that there's 3 movements in it. I can do the first 2 movements, but the third movement, it's impossible. I can't do it. It's just not going to happen. So I'll do the second movement and then I'm going to tap out. But then I said to the person who was judging me, I said, look, I'm going to give it a go, and even if I get 1, it'll be fine. I actually made it the whole way through the workout, because I actually was capable of doing it. Like I was nowhere near being the first person or anything like that. But the fact that I actually overcome my mental thoughts of not being able to do it, and then actually pushing through and being able to complete that workout, was just such a more of a mental thing than a physical thing, but just being capable. Like we write ourselves off so early on in the piece, because we just don't think that we're capable of doing things. And I think that's one thing, the freedom from food and the fact that you learn that you're capable of being able to do so much more than what you give yourself credit for, are 2 massive things that I've taken out of this journey.
Yeah, I think so. And something you said earlier on, and I kind of go, I loved it, but I also didn't love it, was the whole walking thing, because you said, you kind of went, oh, it's just walking. And I'm like, it's not just walking. For me, I think people that put walking into their day-to-day life after bariatric surgery are going to be more successful than probably people that try and go all out and become huge at the gym and stuff like that, because it's the little habits, the easy habits, the ones that are going to stick. And it's less about like achieving greatness in a field, but more about just turning up.
Yeah.
And things that are easy, you turn up for, you know, and that's for me is like, even today, I went out and ran 3Ks.
Yep.
For me, I haven't ran less than 5Ks in a very long time, but I turned up.
Yep.
And that for me is like, sometimes when you say with walking, I'm like, I would rather see people implement walking into their life after bariatric surgery and look at it less like, oh, but I can't run, but more like I'm turning up.
That's exactly what I did today. Your mum messaged me because I said to your mum, oh, I really need to go for a run today. And she goes, okay, well, I'll come over. And she was like, it's only going to be a walk though, because she's got a bad knee and I'm not feeling amazing. I said, a walk is better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
So like, even though we used to run, we could say, oh no, I have a sore knee and I'm not feeling the best today, so we just won't do it. But no, we still got up and we jogged and we walked 5Ks. Like it's still getting up and it's moving.
It all comes down to like comparables, and like, you know, you look at Instagram and you see some person that goes to the gym every morning and they're getting buff and and you go, oh, but I just walked.
Yeah.
No.
It was the same as when we used to do.
It's freaking awesome,
running
like
events. Like you'd sign up for the 21 and I'd be like, oh, well, I'm just doing 10Ks. And now when someone says that to me now, I'm like, don't ever say you're just doing 10Ks. Like 10Ks or 5Ks or 1K is a long way if it's something that you've never done before.
Yeah, I know. And it's consistency. Consistency is one of the main pillars to success. So, you know, speaking of success, what are some of the goals future next 6 months, 12 months that you are aiming for?
I want to feel stronger. I think that for me, incorporating some kind of weight training into my exercise to feel stronger. I have the trifecta of back issues. I have scoliosis, kyphosis, lordosis, which just means my back does not work in the way that other people's backs do. And so to feel stronger, have a stronger core, stronger back muscles, those are the things that are important to me from a physical point of view. The weight's going to come off and that's great. I'm less focused on that now. I thought I had to have an intervention with myself in the scales and I had to put it away because I was getting a little bit too obsessed with the scales. So I don't weigh myself regularly anymore. I weighed myself today in preparation for today, like this, but I haven't weighed myself in ages because it was not healthy for me to keep knowing what the number was, because like whether you have bariatric surgery or not, your weight fluctuates on a daily basis because of lots of things. So stop weighing yourself. So strength is really important. I actually start a new job tomorrow. So that's a huge focus for me, is to, it's wild to me to think that these people that I'm going to now work with on a daily basis have no idea who that person was from a physical or a mental perspective. I'm a completely different person now in so many aspects. And it's wild for me to think that they don't know that person. And it's not like I'm going in there reinventing myself, but I know that I'm different. So I'm going to carry myself differently. So I think the next 6 months is really going to show how that's going to be in a new environment. Maybe another baby, who knows? I don't know. There's a lot of talk. I am well and truly geriatric now. I'm 41 years old. I'm just 40. I will be 41 this year. So having another baby, it will be my husband's fourth baby, and he is older than me. So there's still some discussion to be had around that. I think, and working on moving joyfully, eating intuitively, staying hydrated, filling my cup, like whatever that means for me on the day. It might be a face mask one day. It might be getting out of the house with no children another day. So whatever those things might be. But really focusing on what my life looks like sustainably. It's not about the next 6 months. It's not about the next 12 months. What can I do now that I'll still be doing in 20 years' time in some way, shape or form? Because if I don't, and I think that's why having the surgery for me now, when I was 39, I had my surgery. If I did it when I was 29 or I was 20 or 19, I would not be in the same headspace. I would not have been as successful. I really don't think, because I was so selfish and I was in not a good way. And I hadn't lived the life that I have lived in order to get me to this point. So there's a reason why I've done it now. And this is not a 12-month process. This is a lifetime process. And I want to make sure that this first year, and maybe even the first 18 to 24 months, is really about setting myself up for success long term. Because if I don't, I'll be on the regain train. And that's not where I want to be either. So
I feel like you just made Shannon's heart very happy with you saying that.
Oh, no, there was a lot there. And like, even like when you were talking about like the original goals and stuff like that, I like found a smile on my face, because I was like, you were so excited about like the little things. And they're the things that are going to matter when things get hard. Because like I'm at that point now, 4 years out, you know, the scales do not move, like upwards, if anything. So it's kind of, you don't have that constant motivation. So to hear you talking about like just minimal life things and like just the feelings and like, you know, kind of using them as your goal and your excitement. And, you know, I was kind of like, yeah, that's it. That's it. Like it's finding motivation through the simple things in life is the end goal. Because, you know, you're not going to get all these likes on your posts, and you're not going to get all this, the way scales are going to stop moving. You know, you're not going to be excited over the little things that weren't once possible forever. So sooner or later, you kind of do need to stand back and be like, you know, I need to start appreciating, you know, those little things today, and the little things that, like, you know, make me excited for tomorrow. So yeah, listening to you talk to Dan, I was like, he said a lot of great things that I'm like, I feel like you are like really going to motivate consistently going forward through these things you already are being motivated.
I feel like, Shan, you want to take that little voice clip and set it as your alarm in the morning. So it's like, I want to wake up every morning and fill my cup.
No, there was literally a thing I listened to today that summed it up perfectly. And it says, the goal in everyone's life should be wake up happy. And it's like, we sometimes get lost so much in like being more successful than this person, or have more money than this person, or have a bigger house, or have a bigger car, that we lose vision of the simple thing, which is wake up each day and be happy. You know, what does that look like?
Something I learned from listening to this podcast before I had my surgery is that about validation and about looking internally for validation, not externally. And I have not disclosed on my social media that I have had surgery, whether it be Instagram or Facebook, because I guess I learned this from this podcast, is that I needed to make sure that I was doing it. So if someone has seen me face to face, and they've seen, because I look completely different now, something has happened. So yes, we have that conversation, and I'm not shy in saying that I had weight loss surgery and this is what I've done and this is what I'm doing now, but I haven't disclosed it because of the likes and of the external validation. Like, don't get me wrong, to get validation when I see someone face to face, of course you're going to love that. Of course I love that. I look different and I'm getting validation. But I felt early on that if I disclosed it on my social media, that I would be pulling from that more regularly than pulling from within. So that was a conscious decision. So that may change now, because people will find my page from this podcast, obviously. I am part of the weight loss community. I'm in Brisbane and I am part of that. And I have met some incredible people that I have a certain level of relationship with, but that I wouldn't say that I am like found lifelong friends. I may still find lifelong friends from this, but I needed to make sure that I was super selfish about this process and really insular, and make sure that I was making the right decision for myself, and then also was doing it for the right reason, which was myself, because I have a small person that I brought into this world 18, 20 months ago that I'm responsible for bringing into this world continuously with a better view. And it's only going to get more challenging when it comes to social media for her as she gets older. So I want her to be looking at us my village and my actual village, my family, and my friends, and seeing that your validation comes from within. I want to talk positively about my body. I want to make sure that she sees me and everybody else moving our bodies because we want to be moving them, and we're drinking water because it's good for us, not juice or whatever. Not that juice is bad, but it's about hydrating, and that she can see those things. And also my 16-year-old stepdaughter, that she sees those things, that she has been on this journey with me as well, because it's important for me that she sees, not externally on social media, but in our house, what we are living every day is positive, and hopefully she's taken something from that as well.
Yeah. Well, the next question I was going to ask you, and I think you just literally
totally
summed
just
it up,
said it.
because I was going to ask if you could give one piece of advice. No, don't be sorry, because it was a great piece of advice, and it was look within. And I think that, because I was going to say, if you could give one piece of advice, what would it be? And I think your whole episode throughout, something you've emphasized and talked about a lot, is looking within and understanding internal validation and understanding internal,
and making sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, and making sure that you're making yourself happy, and that everybody else comes after you, which is something that we all very struggle to do.
Oh, especially coming from the background we have. So, not to put words in your mouth, but was that kind of where your words of your mouth would have went?
Yeah, well, definitely look within and make sure. I probably wouldn't have used those words, but let's go with that. But yes, you need to do this for yourself. This is not easy. This is not it's financially not easy. It's physically not easy. It is definitely not mentally easy. As I have gotten smaller, I probably have discovered that I have a bit of body dysmorphia. Like and if you again asked me 12 months ago, I would have been like, no, what are you talking about? But now that I actually am living this different life in a different body, because it really is a different body, there's still some things to work on there. So you need to be making sure that you're coming back to yourself and what you need and what you want regularly. That doesn't mean you ignore everyone around you. You can't do that. But it is that old adage of you put your own oxygen mask on first, because if I am not right, if I am not well, then the rest of my household doesn't run in the same way. They can survive and they will survive, absolutely. But we all have our part to play in this house and also in our village. So you need to make sure that, and that was why I did this. I did this so that I would be the best version of myself physically, because in the beginning it was about physically, but the mental journey has been a trip. It has been an absolute trip, and I didn't really realize how much of a mental journey this was going to be. Maybe not immediately, but now 8 months in, it's definitely more of a mental journey than a physical one, because I'm used to the physical now somewhat, but it's all the mental stuff that I'm working out now.
Very wise. If someone else wants to reach out to you and listen to some more of your wise advice, because I've really enjoyed your advice this episode, where would be the best place to find you?
Well, Insta is the best place. I'm also part of the Queensland Weight Loss Community page on Facebook, so you can reach out to me there as well. I would love to connect more with people who are pre-surgery, because, again, not to repeat myself, but this podcast really helped pre-surgery, because I didn't know whether this was the right choice, and listening to other people's stories helped me decide that, yes, this was the right choice. Do your own research, but reaching out to people and asking questions, and no question is really off the table, because I've had my bouts of really bad digestion. So we'll talk about that if that's what you want to talk about. But also all the mental stuff as well. So whatever it is. So yeah, hit me up on Insta. I've been really happy to share.
You've gone through it all.
Nothing attracts people like, I'm happy to talk about poo.
I was going to say, I love poop stories. So I'll be sliding into your DMs just to talk about poop. It's all good.
I love it. Well, absolute
I'm
pleasure.
a little one. We talk about poo in this house a lot.
Yeah.
So
kids,
do we. So,
kids and poo.
We don't have kids, but so do we. Yeah,
kids poo and bariatric
You're preparing
patients.
yourselves, don't worry.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Thank you for coming on. We've actually absolutely appreciated it. And you did just leave us with one little piece of advice that I thought about just before, and I was like, if bariatric surgery is the easy way out for you, you're probably not trying hard enough. It's kind of like you said it before, and I was like, if it feels like the easy way, lean into it a little bit more because you're probably not trying hard enough. Yeah, love it.
Well, we've absolutely loved having you on this episode, and we'll pop all your details in the comments below so people can reach out to you. And that is another episode of
Bari Banter. I win. Is another episode of Bari Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.